Welcome to Dreamlabs, copyright Table LLC 2022. This is Intro to Dreamwar Class 6, God Chess. Welcome to the 6th class of Intro to Dreamwar. This class will be discussing what the network is and our various operations that we have currently running in the multiverse in an alinear framework for various purposes that I will get into now. I've been referring to myself as Vigil, but I also go by the name Holiday, which is what I will be referring to myself from this point forward. I've decided upon this name simply because I like the aesthetics of it more. I'm the maker of games and toys who runs a multiverse library that has within it the entire mapped finite multiverse block along with every recorded genetic mating of every single slide we have every single pathway for the multiverse civilizations mapped that they have taken before hitting their death point. I've cataloged every single being and every single thought and emotion in the entire creation, from the first finite multiverse to every possible combination in the various multiverse civilizations to their death points. I've mapped every single pathway and every single ripple throughout the entire multiverse block and the various genetic matings over endless generational runs. I'm currently using a large number of the finite blocks from my labs to power and run my server systems of hypercomputation machines, and I'm using various multiverse blocks as information farms for the continued collection of raw data that I'm running through a growing number of algorithms that create databases, associate data, and use it for neuronal network training and machine learning programs for both hard or conscious sentient AI with free will, soft or non-sentient AI without free will, with either weak or strong ability, low specialized intelligence, or general intelligence that is exponentially increasing in ability. I use random number generators attached to the creation of information in my information farms that are spread across a large number of multiverses, but because the number of kinetic variable pathways is finite, there's only so many kinetic actions that can be done before a civilization hits death point. The reasons why people do the actions and their names and language changes. Language eventually hits a maximum variable point as music does, as well as through the amount of tones, though the amount of tones, pauses, and language is vast. It is finite when it is finite in time. They have only a limited amount of possible physical actions they can take due to the finite amount of variables and the finite amount of time before kinetic pathways lead to a death point, even with the ability to move through the multiverse. The names and logic arguments change, but the actions remain the same. It is humorous to watch somebody do the exact same action an endless amount of times with nearing infinite amount of reasons why they have done it. The killer always kills the same man in the finite universe block, but it can be a different named man and a different named killer, killing because of different thoughts. I use this vast amount of computation, which is growing exponentially in ability and scope as I continue to take and capture multiverse cubes while running interdimensional multiverse cabling through sliding wormholes to create the telecommunication system that connects all my servers together, allowing me to access my entire server cloud, the various versions of me that have erupted from the timelines, which are all mapped, neuronal data mapping, and serial coded with history and future probability, which is growing indefinitely as I interact with my various selves across the multiverse, which I have also done to every other single being that will ever exist in the entire multiverse. And I can ask my network servers questions, write reality programs, and interact with the entire area of the multiverse that I have under my domain currently. I use all this technology to create matrix realities or games and toys which are growing in complexity indefinitely forever as they interacted with by the game players will hard smart AI programs render in real time with hyper complex in-depth neuronal networks that have learned from the raw data in independent novel training programs, making them all unique to each other, resulting in them creating novel interactions based upon the same stimuli, and endless automatic databasing and association of variables of the data. I include random noise generation in some of the data to train the various game rendering AI. I've created what I call the dream temples or time well labs that contain within them the recorded dreams of every single being that has ever existed in the multiverse with an interactive matrix reality rendering AI program that create more depth as you read and play in the dreams of creation with ethical editing, of course, making the dreams of creation infinite. My interdimensional alinear multiverse server system that is running the various finite multiverse block labs, information farms, power source and computation machines, and telecommunication system across the multiverse, which allows anyone in my community to interact with any being at any point of time throughout the multiverse from any location from inside their own mind with a real-time mapping program that can artificially spark and activate the neurons of the mind and read the mind with the real-time mapping program without any sort of intrusive implant, allowing the entire mapping and interactive mechanism to remain hidden in stealth mode while it runs and while people use it for playing games, dreaming in an interactive matrix, or any other thing that they desire to do that my intranet provides and it's modeled to be decentralized, self-healing, self-correcting, with gazillions of hard, smart, super intelligence AI that are all grown in novel data sets and training with sentience and free will that is conscious and experiencing reality, along with a large number of soft, weak AI running subtasks, doing various tasks that I have programmed and tasks that they have programmed. I have merged kinetic reality with digital reality with my current operations alongside all the other components of the network hyperintelligence, which combine the data mapping of every single subatomic variable and ripple in space-time in the entire finite block of the multiverse and every single mating of the finite blocks till every single civilization reaches their death point, and kinetic pathways cause their death points despite their endless novel data that I have introduced with randomized number generators. And it has allowed me to create the matrix realities that are growing infinitely with computerized pathways that are not tied to the kinetic pathways of the finite multiverse block, allowing me to continue to grow civilizations and information despite the death points of kinetic pathways that always result in the death point of civilization. I use entire multiverse blocks with artificially induced logic or particles at specific times, sometimes like clockwork beings that are reading scripts, to create a specific type of civilization that will move into the multiverse, that I can play God chess with the other beings that are doing the same operations as I am in the multiverse. This serves not to simply entertain us, but to create more novel data that allows us to continue growing the entire library of creation, growing it indefinitely so that we have access to our library, which will now have an infinite amount of experiences, games, and knowledge frameworks. These classes are intended to create a new community of game players who desire to play God chess or dream more in competition against each other and other versions of them in the multiverse. By playing this game, you are artificially increasing the amount of variables that the finite multiverse civilization can take, increasing the novel pathways, resulting in new data for our library, allowing them to hit death point at a later date than they normally would have. These beings that live within these various civilizations are being mapped in real time, and this allows us to increase the amount of experiences that our library holds, which benefits all of creation that has access to our internet. I ask you now, across all of creation, if you will serve me. If you agree, the standing order is to train yourself to the maximum of your potential and live your life to the fullest, going after what you desire with all your passion and might using your ethics. Second, and this comes later, after you have trained yourselves, second, I ask that the elite of our community, the very highest super intelligences and the most capable in all disciplines, the meta-elite who are superior to all others, train me until I have the merit that is required to be able to lead and rule justly in our small community. If I am to beguile you into following me after me, then the first thing that must be ordered after the standing order is to train me and develop me until I myself am the meta-elite. Our community symbol is black wings among many other symbols. Those who have made the choice of out of the gazillions of gazillions who read this or watch this to follow after me, must train themselves to the highest degrees possible so that we can be the best in all of creation. That's a quick framework of the environment and the board of God Chess or Dream War. From here, I will go on to talk, not in this class because this is just a short intro into the game board of God Chess. From this point, I'll begin discussing various topics that are topics that teach you how to do various things in the game of God Chess or Dream War. Ethics is exceedingly important, so if you didn't watch my ethics video, it's kind of disjointed, but I try to take a relaxed approach to some of this. Anyway, so that's the network and the current operations of the network.